So on the right-hand side underneath your name, you'll have my account. When you click on my account, it's going to open up some, it'll open up some tabs for you to look at. So it starts off with your dashboard, and your dashboard has your information. And this number, this member ID number, that's the number I'm talking about. It's known now as the M1 number. It used to be called the NERDS number, National Realtor Database number is what it used to be. That's why it is still identified as that here. But now they call it an M1. So on the dashboard, it covers all your things. And one of the key things that has changed over the last few years is your code of ethics. You have to have, and this is separate from what Texas has. You have to have the NAR Code of Ethics. All agents you take that when they first come into business, and they take it and they forget about it. And the problem with that is it's on a 3-year cycle. So every 3 years you have to retake it. And usually they offer it here in Texas anyway, we'll offer that for free because it's a requirement to be a member of NARs that you take it. I would recommend that you occasionally pop in and take the class. You can do it free. A lot of times I'll put it on just to listen to it, see what's just as an update, right? Because almost every time you listen to it, you pick out something else that might work or might be important. But anyway, it's a 3-year cycle, just so you know about it. It's a 3-year cycle and it has to be completed. If you don't complete that, and that's one of the things, even in McAllen right now, we have about 100 agents that never completed that. It was supposed to be completed by the end of the year, and they are taking them out of the system. And agents are complaining about, I didn't know. Well, it's a business. You are responsible for it. You can blame the board, you can blame your broker, but ultimately the person that's responsible for your success, your meeting the requirements is you, right? So and that's why I want to make sure you guys know that it's here. It's on a 3-year cycle. So if you just started in this business, let's say in January, for example, then go out 3 years, and in October, or go out 2 years and a few months. In October of that year, put on there, uh, take NAR Code of Ethics. And that way you don't miss it, right? Because it'll be due again in January. And if you don't take it, then you'll lose on that, right? We want to make sure that we have that. So that's just one of the little things in there for you. And then all your designations, these are the designations I have currently. I'm working on a couple others right quick, but these are all designations. Anything you have that's an NAR designation will show up here. I have some additional ones that are Texas specific, and in fact, that's one of the things I would recommend for you. That one that I have is Texas Leasing Specialist, and I'll show you where that's at in a little bit. But Texas Leasing Specialist teaches you how to work with leasing, both on the list for lease and the tenant. It's not a property management. That is a separate Texas designation certification. But Texas Leasing Specialist is a really good one to have, in my opinion, because you learn a lot about it. What happens with that and things to look out for, like um, are emotional support animals are emotional support animals considered ADA? And the answer to that is generally no. Anyway, so on the dashboard right here, you have some other things here like C2EX. If you have not familiarized yourself with C2EX, please do that. C2EX is free to take. Once you get it, it's yours, right? However, they do have requirements where you have to update it every couple of years. You have to take it, not take it again, but take an update on it every couple of years to make sure you're in line with what's going on with it. And C2EX is not something you'll take real simple. It's not take an 8-hour class. That's not what it's about. I was fortunate. I did it during COVID. So, and I say fortunate because there's things on there like it gets you involved in the whole realtor aspect, right? So what's going on within your community? Like, for example, you have to attend city council meetings. Well, during COVID, I was able to do that via Zoom, so I didn't really have to go anywhere. That worked out really well. Um, and I'll tell you that that was my one takeaway, and that's why I bring that one up, is because I had never attended a city council meeting. I'm not into politics, don't really, things are going to be what they are. That's okay. But since then, I now flag those, so I stay up to date with what's happening within the city. In fact, that was one of my takeaways from the city council meeting was that Harlingen has a 50-year plan, and I didn't even know they had a 1-year plan. To be honest about it, based on the way you see things work sometimes, right? So anyway, so NAR.realtors where you want to go. There, you also have your profile here, and you also have when you're looking at the profile, you have committee and members, you can, if you're a committee member, you'll see that on here as well. And then you have your education, where you have a chance to, again, take some of those designations or a C2EX. And then member benefits. On member benefits, there's a benefits checklist here. And like I said, the C2EX, one of the other things it does is you have Fair Haven, which is an assessment of your attitude, the way you respond to things, and et cetera, dealing with fair housing. And quite frankly, I was a little shocked when I took that, because what I thought was a good answer was not necessarily a good answer, because it's interactive, right? So you give, your buyer says this and you respond this way, and it takes you down this path, and you find out, oh, that was not the right path. And I played with that one. I think I did that one 3 different times just to get a feel for it. That one's really interesting. We've talked about we've talked about some of the other things that they have, NAR has available. This one right here I have not talked about in a while, and that's financial wellness. If you click on financial wellness, they have a page dedicated to us and learning about financial wellness, and it's worthwhile to go to it. I'll show that. You'll see me show that for the company once in a while. It's one of those pages where you can go in and learn about financial aspects of life, as well as this business and things that we can do. And the more educated you are, the better you are to better able you are to help the consumer, right? Like, for example, can I take money out of a 401k and use that as a down payment for a house? And the answer is yes. There's ways to do all of these different things, and it outlines all that, as well as setting things up for you. And I could be mistaken, but my understanding on the financial wellness part of that was the powers to be, if you will, at NAR realized that we have agents that come in this business and do an absolute massive job. I mean, they just blow things away, right? You've seen some of the top winners yesterday on production, volume, and the top award winners based on gross commissions and et cetera. NAR realized we have agents that are doing that nationwide. But when it comes time to retire, they have nothing, right? So, and that's part of that financial wellness, is it shows you ways that you can build your retirement. In my mind, that would be by real estate, but that's not necessarily the case for all people. And then we also have the MVP. If you've not signed up for that, it's a free thing, and they'll offer every month. They offer something different. I've done several of those. They'll say here's a survey. If you complete the survey, we'll give you this ebook or whatever, right? Or this program. You can have the access to this program for 30 days, whatever it is. The most recent one I did was the 2024 buyer and seller profile. If you complete this, we'll provide that to you. Normally, if you bought it, it was over $100 to pay for. So it's just signing up for it. You don't have to do it every month, but sign up for it so you get notification when it's available. And then, of course, we talked about Get.Realtor. We talked about the real estate aspect of the domain name. Those are out there. And then you have a free realtor.com profile. And most agents do not know about that. Most agents don't play with it. Consumers go to realtor.com just like they go to Zillow and other sites. So you want your profile set up there. And I'm going to show that one to you here in just a little bit as well. And then, of course, you have RPR on there. That's member benefits. NAR.realtor is where you want to go for that. And there's other items in here like your subscription notices. Make sure that's up to date, where you get your magazines to things sent to. And by the way, they're doing away with the magazine. They are actually going digital with that. What is that, Duncan? Let me see. Duncan's sending me notes. I got to see what that is. Take a look at it. All right, so but you want notifications sent. Awesome. Yep. Oh, why is yours red?
You can modify the color.
You can modify it? Is that what you said?
Yes.
Yeah. The reason you can modify is that's commercial. The red R is commercial. The blue R is residential. Just so for the rest of you, so you know about that. Yeah. Thanks, Duncan. Appreciate it. So most of us would not be able to do that because we are not connected to commercial. Anyway, on your subscription notifications, you have that, and then of course you have your privacy. You want to log in there and work with that, and that's just nar.realtor. That's the site we're on. Again, the handout for it was in the chat as well. If you didn't get that, I can throw that in again as well, or somebody else can throw it in there real quick. The other one NAR that I wanted to base on is your code of ethics. We talked about that one already, so we have that. And then you C2X, we've talked about that. If you go to education, you go to education designations, put the cursor over education. You'll get this little box opens up and it'll have designations and certifications. There you go. It has a mind of its own today. So here's everything that is available through NAR, right? And a lot of the boards offer these different programs. So you decide what you want to do and how you want to do it. But let me throw this out, please. If you're fairly new at this business, and I'd say within the last year, or if you're trying to redesign your business, maybe go in a different direction, for years, this has been my stair step. And we've added to it just a little bit, and I'll explain that in a second. But your first step out of the door should be ABR across the board. Everybody should be getting ABR. It's accredited by a rep. That's just me. And the reason for that is you learn how to work with buyers. You learn all the little things to go with working with a buyer. And as a seasoned agent, I was thankful for those agents that had ABR, because if I got a phone call when I was in an office, if I got a phone call and somebody wanted to see a property, I got into the habit of actually scheduling an appointment with them. And then I'd walk through the office to the new agent and say, hey, schedule an appointment at 2 o'clock today for this person at 123 A Street. Do you want to go? Yes, it's all yours. I don't want no, there's no referral, there's no nothing. Just take it, make sure you treat them well. Because I'm going to generate leads off of my website and other things that I do, and I just don't have the time to work with it. You'll hear me talk about this from time to time. And when I go to bed at night, my schedule for the next day is done. When I wake up in the morning, there's not much fudge room in this thing. If you came to me with an emergency, I could probably make things work. But if it's not an emergency, we're probably not going to do that because the schedule's all planned out. And so when that buyer calls and they're sitting in front of the house and they want to see it, I'm going to hand that lead off. And I would hand it off to individuals that have ABR, because now they know how to work with buyers. So that's my first step in the step of success, is get ABR. The second step can be a little confusing depending on which way you want to go. And what I mean by that is you have GRI, Graduate Realtor Institute, which you'll see on here, right? And we have what is called TAX in Texas. It's Texas Accredited Commercial Specialist. So if you're interested in commercial, you want to take that. That is not a national designation or certification, but it is Texas specific. Texas Accredited Commercial Specialist, TAX. There's 3 classes. They're 4 days long, and you have to have all 12 days to be able to claim you have tax, right? GRI is the same way, except for it's geared toward residential more so than anything else. Like, for example, when we talk about contracts, we talk about 1 to 4 because 1 to 4 is the most commonly used contract in the state of Texas, right? So the focus there is more geared toward residential. There might be a few things thrown out about commercial, but generally it's residential and your business as a whole, right? In fact, there's a brokerage course that's tied into GRI, and Texas Real Estate Commission requires you to have a brokerage course to renew and to become a broker. That GRI brokerage is accredited in a way that counts toward your renewal, and it counts toward your 90 hours that you need the first years. In fact, both of those, GRI and tax, count toward your 90 hours that you need in the first 2 years. So the first step was ABR, second is tax or GRI. Your third step depends on where you want to go. So for example, CRS is on the residential side. CRS for me is the third step. And that's Certified Residential Specialist. They're having their it's called Celebration in Tennessee this year. I've never been to one, but that's how I got started with it. I was going to go to one in Vegas, and I found out that you can go, you'll get the designation, you'll get classes, but you don't get credit in the state of Texas because they don't have it set up that way. I still don't think they do today. So we took our CRS classes within the state instead of going to that. CRS is Certified Residential Specialist, and depending on who you talk to, there's only about 3% of the national realtors that have CRS, about 3%. It's the cream of the crop. The instructors there are different. They travel all over the world, not just South Texas or Texas, they all over the place. In fact, the instructor we had at station, one of them was leaving that. It was a 2-day class on referrals. She was leaving that and going to Mexico City to teach a class for the Mexico Association of Realtors type of thing. It's a different, has a different name, but that's what they were doing. And then one of the instructors out of the Dallas Fort Worth area has been to Ireland and Europe teaching classes over there. So they're a different type of instructor. And definitely worthwhile. We have brought them into the valley. We've had them in McAllen a few times. They're a little expensive to bring in, so you have to make certain the class makes. I don't know that anyone else, including Corpus, I don't know of anybody in the lower south part of Texas that's had them. We've taken them in San Antonio, but anyway, know that these designations are here, and you go get what you want to get, and it's all up to you. This one right here, for example, green, is a designation I had, but I didn't renew it. Some of these require you to pay annually. ABR is one of those where you have to pay annually to maintain, right? It's not much. Same thing with CRS. It's like $110, $150, something like that to maintain it. But this one, because it was an annual thing and I wasn't getting anything out of it, I let it fall to the wayside. Now, I have the education, I learned from it, but I wasn't able to use it here in the valley, so I just let it fall to the wayside and did not renew it. I went in to renew it a couple years ago and found out that I was going to have to take the course all over again and said, no, if I lived in Austin, I'd have that and I would use it. But here, I just wasn't getting the results out of it. The other items I do, and that's a part of when I say it's up to you what you want to do, know that those are there. All right. And that's all underneath education. If you just go to certifications and designations, those are all there for you. And then I also want to touch base on, and you can also get those through REMAX because they're offered through REMAX University as well. And when you take those, I took an MRP class. I've taken that class like 4 or 5 times now. It's military relocation. I do it myself. I take the class myself just as a refresher, see what other instructors are doing. I took one with Rich Sands during COVID, and they had, because I took it through REMAC. Of course, I didn't get credit within Texas, which is okay, right? I took it with Rich Sands, and I was able to see not only his style of instructing and what he was covering and the way he covered it, but I also was able to see individuals from all over the nation that are tied to REMAX, right? That have an interest in working with military, which was a great networking tool. If you can do those live, it's more beneficial, in my opinion. So I've covered those items with you. Now, if you'll go to education, if you go to education, click on library and archives, and on the sheet that I gave you, I have letters and templates. That's library and archives. That's what we want to click on, right? So I'll update that. By the way, I haven't been giving out this schedule. This course, I'm trying to do that, put all this together so it's nice and organized. One of the things I want to draw your attention to is business letter and templates. It's right here. And this is on NAR's site, nar.realtor. These are all in here for you. They're part of what your dues pay for. You can pull their templates, right? So you can pull letters from here and customize them. So here's the rating or prospecting letters, right? So again, you don't have to think about it. You don't have to go to ChatGPT and hope it comes up with the right thing. You have items that have already been proven to work. I've used this that they have in here, and it'll just open up for you. You can make it a template and use it for yourself, right? I've used that one. They have thank you for attending my open house, which again, if you're using the open house app that we have, you don't need that because it gets automated and sent out. But anyway, there's several of them in here that you could use if you wanted to do something different with them. There's additional letters in here as well. Client testimonial letters, that's where you're asking for a testimonial from the individuals. There's the pre-listing letter. Oh my gosh. Pre-listing is something we did in Austin. I came to the Valley, they don't do that. And here, you might call it fear, I don't know. I decided to stop doing that. In Austin, I was taught to do a pre-listing. If you call me today and I'm going to do a listing, have a listing conversation with you tomorrow, tonight I would send out, or tomorrow morning I'd send a pre-listing packet out. That's what I was taught in Austin. It worked really, really well. But here in the Valley, if they're calling you, they may be calling somebody else, and you need to jump on it, right? Don't give somebody else a chance to get their foot in the door. Uh, and we'll talk about that as we go through some of this. Anyway, so those are there underneath education, library, and archives. If you go to that, it'll the business letter and templates are there for you. All right. One of the other items that's there is the audiobooks and ebooks. And I talk about those a lot because I use them. They're in Overdrive, is what it says, Overdrive ebooks and audiobooks. But what they actually use for it is Libby. That's the app you'd have on your phone, right? So when you click on it, it opens up, and this is the NAR library. So again, your dues are paying for this. All these books are in there. When you check them out, you're not going to get anything in the mail. They're not going to send you anything. What you get is a link. And I use the audiobooks more so than the ebooks, although I have used the ebooks as well. But Libby is the app, and you can just download the app from the App Store or from Google Play and get it from there. But they have audiobooks, ebooks, and they have special books here. They have a Spanish collection. They have videos in here as well. Most of the videos are like yoga type videos, things like that. But you can go in and check out, and they have a variety of books in here. If they have a book you want and it's not available, you can ask them to put it on their list. And if there's enough requests for it, they will put it on there. Like, for example, what was that one, Duncan? What was that one yesterday? The Mind of a CEO or something like that?
The CEO Mindset by
Mindset?
Billy Fisher.
The CEO Mindset?
You have to type THE first, the CEO Mindset, because I think there's 2 or 3 different ones.
Okay. So it's saying it couldn't find that specific one. You guys can see that. So what I can do is I can ask them to put it on the list, right? And if there's enough requests for it, they'll get them and make that work for you. The when I look at this, just to show you, I've been using this for a long time, and I listen to books over and over. So here's some of this is on my history. These are some of the things that I've listened to, like the Spanish in Minutes did not stick. I'm sorry about that. It just didn't work. But there's a variety of things in here. And this Agent's Edge, I think I originally got that from Nina. There's a lot of them, and I've been doing this part of it for years, where I listen to the different books. So and it keeps track of what you've listened to, so you have that access as well. All right, any questions on any of those? Nina, do you know a Pamela? Pamela? Yes. I'm just gonna let her in. Hopefully it's okay. All right. Any question about anything else there? We're gonna get off of NAR's site. We're gonna go to TexasRealEstate.com. When you go to TexasRealEstate.com, that is Texas Realtors website. And here, some of the things I want to touch base on with this one, just real quick, is first off, you have to log in, right? You have to log in where it's about us. You log in there. I've used this site for years, and one of the reasons I've used it more so than anything else is the other brokerages I was using ZipForms, but I would log into ZipForms from here, right? By clicking on this. Do not do that. I mean, you can use it, but it's not the same as ours. So know that there's a difference. They do not connect in any way, shape, or form, right? But if you want to mess around or practice or whatever, you can. This ZipForms works for you as well as part of your Texas Realtors benefits, but it is not connected to ours. So please understand that. And click on the red banner. If you click on the red banner, some of the things I want to touch base on here is first the legal and ethics. If you go underneath legal and ethics, there's legal frequently asked questions. There's also a hotline here for Texas Realtors attorneys. Anybody can use that. You can call it. You can send them a message. They will not respond by email. They'll never put anything in writing. Good advice for you too. But you're free to call them if you have a situation you're having issues with. In fact, just recently I told the agents, call the legal hotline, see what they have to say about it. and she was kind enough to share what they shared. They do not cover specific situations. They'll tell you what the contract says, right? And you can learn from that aspect of it, but they will not get into what ifs or any of that good stuff. But the legal frequently asked questions is real important because there's so many questions they get asked over and over and over, which is what I should probably have. But anyway, here's the NAR settlement right here. All that information there right at the very top. So you have that in case there's any questions about anything. They have worksheets in here for you that you can use as well. Excuse me. Or you can go to nar.facts and get those worksheets as well. And some of those could be uploaded into your website actually to use with consumers because they're designed to be given out to consumers. But if you go through here, there's all types of information on here. Agency, how to set up your, if you go to agency notices, for example, that shows you how to set up an email. It's not exactly the way I would recommend doing it, but they have an example in there for you. And it goes through the contracts, landlord tenant, it covers everything. This is what I do on Friday nights right here. Frequently asked questions. And down here at the bottom, you actually have foreign seller and FERPTA. How does that work? That's something because of where we're at. We absolutely need to make sure we know that. There's little things in there, like for example, if it's $300,000 or below, and the buyer is going to be using it as their homestead, then all bets are off. Things like that. That's in there, right? It tells you exactly how FERPTA works. So
Jack, I have a quick thing about that. I have a seller that's from Canada, and I guess he travels between Toronto and Las Vegas, back and forth, and he has property, I guess, here in Corpus he wants to sell. So I'm gonna have to go check that out, what you just pointed out.
sir, because if they're foreign national and they're selling property, there's a tax requirement, and the contract says, and I appreciate you throwing that out there, Johnny. The contract says, unfortunately, that the buyer is responsible for withholding that money, not the title company, not you and me. But if you go into FERPTA, it'll say, if I represented the buyer and they didn't withhold this money, could I get in trouble? And the answer is yes. Or actually, it's an attorney answer, so the answer is probably, right? And the same thing, if you're representing the seller and the money's not withheld, could there be issues? And the answer is probably. So we want to know what that is so we can guide them. That's why it's on the listing agreement. So we have that conversation with them about what's required there. If it's over 300,000, it doesn't matter what the use is going to be, right? If it's over 300,000, there's a requirement there. And if it's over $1 million, yeah, it goes back to 15, I believe it is, and it doesn't matter what the use is. But if it's under 300, so you can go ahead and take it out, check it out. It has all types of explanations for it and how to use it. Ultimately, they're responsible for it. The buyer and the seller is responsible for it, and they need to probably talk to a tax attorney to make sure they're okay. Remember, we don't interpret because we're not the attorneys. All right, the other thing underneath legal and ethics right here that I want to share with you is if you'll click on forms. If you click on forms, it'll show you first off all the types of forms that are there, right? So you've got added forms. Like for example, I was sharing with Norma yesterday, the IABS has changed. The IABS has changed. We're not required to use it until April the 1st, so you'll hear me talk about it again between now and then. I could not find it the day before last. That's why I was sharing with her. I couldn't find it on Zip Forms. I couldn't find it on Trex website yet, but it has been changed, and it's just a minor. It's talking about the compensation aspect of it. But it has changed. So come April the 1st, we're going to be required to upload that into all of our social media and our websites and everything else because it's going to be required to be used April 1st. But on this legal and ethics, if you click on form description and reference, form description and reference is one of my favorites. You'll hear me talk about it all the time. It tells you about every form that's available from TREC, from National, from Texas Realtors. It's every form that we have available. You guys should see that. There's 22 pages here. And what I love about this is it tells you how to use that form, right? So one of the other key things with this is if we come down to the last page, You have things that are on here like the wire fraud to be used to inform parties, right? So the very last page has all these other things that are on there. All the other things that are available and how they might be used. Disclosure of a relationship with a contract provider or administrator, right? There's all kinds of forms available to us. A lot of times it's easier to ask than it is to look, but I'm old school in that way. What's that old thing? It's sometimes if you give a person a fish, you've fed them for a day. If you teach them how to fish, you fed them for a lifetime, right? So that's why I want to make sure this is here. This right here is a tool that you can use, and it is not from Texas Realtors, even though it has a TXR number on it. It is not from NAR. It's from the CFPB, Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. And it's a toolkit for buyers. And I want to show you that one because, again, that's something you might want to have on your website as a toolkit for buyers. It's something to offer buyers. And with the political scene like it is right now, this form may eventually go away, right? But it was created, that CFPB was created because of the housing crisis we had. And it was brought about in 2010. It has a lot of really good information. I've used it. It works really well for buyers to give them an idea of what's expected. And it's just there, especially if they're first-time home buyers. But it's not your typical form. And that's why, again, that's why I like this, is you can go through here and see those forms. I'll also share with you that I've used this several times, even within the company, to build templates. I go through here, I look at all the forms. How is it supposed to be used? Where does it go? Okay, I want that in the buyer template. I want that in the listing template. I want that in the commercial template. I want it in the property management. How does it get used? And I've used it that way probably since about 2003, 2004, something like that. Any questions on that one? So the other one underneath forms is to know that if you go underneath forms, right, you have a blank form download right here. And the blank form download will have a page with all the forms. It'll show you the form number. If it says TXR, that's Texas Realtors. If there's no number underneath TREC, that means it is not a TREC number. It is not a TREC form, I'm sorry. It translated in English, it translated into Spanish and Vietnamese is all we have. And those forms have been recently updated, so they match the new forms. And that one I've used as well. Listing a home in Santa Rosa where the lady did not speak English, but I could lay them side by side. She could read it. She knew what I was putting in the blank. We're okay, right? She's also the same one that told me never to come back after I got it on contract. But anyway, and it gives you the revision date, so you make sure that you're up to date with what's out there as well. And this is when I'm doing zip forms. Most of the time, I have this page open because I'll see a form and go, wait a minute, I think the form changed, and this is where I go to make sure that I have and you have the right forms all the time. Every form is in here. You can see these where there's two numbers. That's both Texas Realtors and TRECs. All right. Any questions there? So again, we're in TexasRealEstate.com. We're underneath for Realtor members. And if you'll go underneath benefits, the value of membership, etc. But I want to go to browse by category. And when you take a look at browse by category, you have all the different benefits that are available to us as Texas Realtors. And we've used a lot of these, even the travel. Even on the travel side, several years ago, we were in Houston when my wife was doing the ABR course, and I tried to make reservations at a hotel. I did make reservations at a hotel when we showed up. It was a Fleabag type hotel. Cheap's not always a good thing. So the next morning, the boys and I went to try to find another place to stay because we are going to be up there for a couple days. I was at a hotel and I asked about a military discount. And they go, no, we don't have that. I'm like, well, that's horrible. I mean, my wife's up here to take a realtor course, and we're going to be here for a couple days. We thought at least she'd have to spend a military discount. They go, oh, she's a real estate agent? She's a realtor? Yes. Oh, we have discounts for them. I'm like, you're kidding. You don't have one for the military, but you have one for realtors. So I have, again, used this, especially with car rentals. Enterprise has a really good deal on this with car rentals, and we've used that for years. But my reason for bringing you here is right here underneath marketing, flyers to share with consumers. Flyers to share with consumers is in here. And again, these are all set up so you can use them. So that you can use them. You can download them and use them on your social media. You can use them on your website. You can print them, which is what we used to do all the time. You want to, there's different ones for different things, right? So you find out what you want to use and how you want to use it. This one right here where it says, why should I hire a realtor? It's a little different than it was back when we used to use it all the time, but I would use this one for sale by owners. And I used to actually carry this with me in my portable filing cabinet, which you'll hear me talk about from time to time, that I kept in the back of my truck, which was a milk crate, actually, right? And I had all the files in there. This was one of them. If I seen a for sale by owner, I take this out, stick a piece of Scotch tape on it, which is what I carried with me as well, and put a little note on there. Please give me a call. I'd like to talk to you about your property, and trying to plant the seed with this. So these documents are in here for you. You can take them and add some things like your mailing address, trifold mail out. There's some in here that you could possibly send to rental properties if you're looking for buyers. There's all types. There's questions to ask before a home inspection. Be a great tool to hand to your buyer. Instead of us going out and creating things, which some of us are really good at, but instead of spending the time doing that, you have the tools available both on NAR and here that you can use for most of this. Or you can take those ideas, and I hope I'm not too far off base, but you take those ideas and go into Etsy or someplace else and create your own. Cecilia has done that with some of hers, and they are absolutely fantastic. Some of the things that I don't know if she's still using them, but things she's used. The other thing I wanted to touch base on is if underneath for realtor members, you have communication here. You have advice for realtor blog that they send out. You should see that on a regular basis. They used to email it out on a regular basis. In fact, I think they still do. And that keeps you up to date with what's going on. So this is, for example, here's the notice for the, they also updated the buyer's termination notice as well, besides the IEBS. So that if you don't look at what they email you, or you don't see it on social media because you're not following Texas Realtors there, you can always go in here, just put it on your schedule, go in and check it once a month or every other week or whatever your case is. The other thing on here is if you'll go underneath events, for those of you that are proactive, go underneath events, there's a 3-year meeting calendar here. 3 years. Who the heck planned things 3 years? Yeah. So on here, there's 3 things I'm going to encourage you to go to. 4 I'd love to see you go to, but 3 for sure. One of them is one that just passed, and that's our Texas Realtors Winter Meeting. Every year they have it in Austin, Texas Realtors Winter Meeting. It's at the Hyatt. It's free. It's free. There's classes you can take. They may, like if it's professional standards, they're going to charge for that one. But the rest of the classes are going to be free. You also get to attend meetings, or you can set in on the forum. They have open forum on risk management or contracts or MLS, and you can set in on them. You'll learn so much just from, lack of better terms, rubbing elbows with those that are running things, right? So please put this on your schedule to check it out. It's always at the Hyatt there in Austin, or has been for many years. I highly encourage you to go to that. It just takes a little bit to go. Then we want to take a look at, and these are things that you could pull from this to use for yourself. This is the one that's a maybe, right? And that's this one in May. This is the Realtors legislative meetings. They're in DC. I've attended those a couple times. I don't normally go. I'm not a politician. I'm not into politics. Probably should be, but I'm not. But I go for the education side of it. So it's legislative meetings. You learn a lot about what's going on within the system of real estate. Some of these have been extremely beneficial. Having us fight for flood insurance and et cetera has been a good thing. But what you can learn from attending these, because again, they have classes and stuff as well from all over the place, it's worthwhile. So if you can go to that one, it'd be great. But it's not something I go to every year personally, but there are some benefits to it. The other, I said there'd be 3 that I absolutely recommend you go to. The first one was the winter meeting. The next one is the Texas Realtors Conference, and that's going to be in August. I'm sorry, it's going to be annual conference right here, August. So this year they're having it in Houston, and then next year we're in San Antonio, and then the year after that, it looks like we'll be back in San Antonio. The Texas Realtor Annual Conference. Please go to that because there's tons of things to get shared there. That is there, you have to pay for it. It's not that much, but all the education is there. I want to say it's like $150, maybe something like that, to attend it. But you have classes that you can go to. There's meetings for the leadership side a lot of times as well. But like we have that on the professional development side, we have meetings we attend. But again, networking that you get out of that is absolutely phenomenal. The agents that you'll meet from throughout the state is absolutely crazy. And then the classes that you can attend. The last one, and I absolutely, this year, if there's any way in the world for you to go, would be in November, go to Houston. It's the NAR annual conference. And the NAR annual conference is a blast to attend. So NAR has connections all over the world. So you'll have booths there, just like Remax has their the little trade expo thing where it's like a feeding frenzy, where we have people that are Remax agents from Ecuador or Guatemala or Ireland or England or Puerto Rico. Remax has that at their conference, but this NAR has it set up for the same thing, right? So you're going to have agents from all over the world that attend this. And I plan on being in Houston for that. I attended several NAR conferences, and I would highly encourage you to go. They are a little more expensive than the state ones, but absolutely worthwhile. And the classes that are offered there are part of what you're paying for. And you can take as many classes as you want. You'll hear occasionally that, in fact, if some of you would have attended the day before last, we had a class on business planning. And one of the things I have in there, I picked up at an NAR conference. Anyway, so we have Houston, New Orleans, and I'll go to that one, and then San Diego in 3 years. So you can plan for that. That's 3-year calendar. Anybody have any questions on that one? Nope. And again, you can by going to textilrealestate.com and just click underneath events is where that's at. All right, so Realtor.com has, and this is where I'll start sharing the links with you. Thanks, Roberta. Grab this. There you go. I'm a little slow this morning. What's up with that? There you go. All right, so Realtor.com offers a landing page, a website, if you will, for you. And all you have to do is go into this site, you log in. It's part of our NAR benefits. There was a page there on that NAR benefits where you could actually, click over to this, and this will all be available to you. You want to go in and get that set up. So again, here we're talking about your profile as well, right? So you need a bio, and this bio might be a generic one, depending on what you're trying to do. Might be a generic one or one that's built for referrals even, or a combination of the two, because you're talking about Realtor.com. Consumers go there to look at properties. We want to be able to have something out there. The other thing, a lot of times, if you're there, you don't have to pay for anything. It's free. It's part of the products, part of what they're doing. Realtor.com does not belong to NAR. Used to many, many, many years ago. But there's a connection there, and we do oversee what's going on with it. So they are tied, right? Tied together. So you have things that are on here that you can use. And again, you can go in and take a look at that and get that set up. You please do that so that your information is available. On the resources that .com has underneath marketing, there you have links to the same type of thing we're talking about. I'm not sure why this is all running. Yeah. Links for real estate agents. So you have an agent's guide to using Realtor.com. You have your everything from work with buyers and sellers and builders, etc., and how to brand yourself. There's all types of tips in here. And again, sometimes some of this, I don't necessarily have it in Remax, But I'm one of those individuals, like I want to look at all of it. Maybe I can take bits and pieces from this and that and make it mine. And that's a big part of you building you underneath the umbrella of the broker, if you will. Questions there? All right, so the other sites I have on schedule was Zillow. Please make sure you're familiar with Zillow and use that to your benefit. You can go in and create an account with them for free. Generally speaking, it's good to have Zillow used to be one of the main sites to go look for properties. It's not necessarily the main site anymore. HAR comes up ahead of it most of the time. And by the way, anybody know anyone in Bowling Green, Ohio? Anybody know anybody up there? Bowling Green? Any contacts? Nope. Nope. Well, our youngest son just transferred up there. He's with Bowling Green University. He's the strength coach up there. That's why that pops up. I've been looking. But they you want to go into Zillow and get that set up. Here's a couple of reasons why you want to make sure you actually look at Zillow from time to time as well. You have homes for sale, you have foreclosures available, and you have for sale by owner. So the consumers can go in here and say they want to sell their property. So it's a good place for you to go for prospecting, right? We want to know that that's available and we want to use it. As an agent that chases for sale by owners, this is one of the sites I checked every Monday. Every Monday. And the reason for that is on weekends, owners would put properties on Zillow. Back then it was Trulia as well, and Craigslist. Craigslist is still valid. And today you might throw in Facebook Marketplace. Go in here, these are all for sale by owners. So if I'm prospecting for sale by Edinburgh, there's 10 there already, right? What's going on in your community and are you actually working with them? And most of them, if you click on them, will even give you the contact information. Now, please keep in mind we have rules that go with do not call and all that, but and so we want to make sure that we're careful with what we do with it. But at the same time, see, like there's listed by, there's the phone number, right, for the individual. At the same time, you can use whether they're owner occupied or not. I've actually worked this one with RPR to check a property out to whether it's actually owner occupied or not as well. So know that they're there, so they actually use them for your benefit on the prospecting side. All right. And then again, if your information is not set up, what will happen is you'll get nothing more than a silhouette, right? Some people think they're superheroes, but you'll get things like this silhouette here, right? Or the fake photos. And you can tell they're fake. I don't know why people don't understand that, but you want to make sure your information is in there. Everybody good? So when somebody does a search, you're there. And you can do all that without having to pay for it. One of the last sites on this to share as far as knowledge, basic knowledge goes, or things for you to do is har.com. I'll throw that in the chat for you so you can grab it real quick too. And please remember, if you're, we just love Zillow. Zillow, everybody should be familiar with Zillow. But please remember, Zillow is also a brokerage now. So, in code of ethics, we got to be careful how we handle things pertaining to Zillow, because they are indeed a brokerage. You'll hear people make comments about all brokerages to include them from time to time, and we don't do that. Code of ethics, we don't do that. If you go to har.com, this is Houston Association of Realtors, and what I want you to do here is you go in here to where it says agents. And right down here on the right-hand side, it says Texas Realtors claim your profile. You want to go in here and claim your profile. All your properties, all your listings are on har.com. All of your listings are on har.com. If you don't claim your profile, you will not show with the property the way you should. All right, so again, just go to agents, and on the right-hand side right here, on the right-hand side, just click on Texas Realtors, claim your profile, plug in your license number. It's free. It doesn't cost you anything. You go in there, you set your profile up. So when buyers are doing a search, again, same thing. They can search for an agent. They can search for properties. You want to pop up with that property if you have that listing. Anybody have questions or comments there? Nope. Cool. The last one I want to touch base on is remax.net. We use this a lot. We talk about it a lot. We're going to be doing some more training on it. Live training in the office type training with it as well. But here, what I want to do is underneath your profile, make sure you hit on update profile. Update profile. That'll be the first one. And then, so you have to log in, right? Log in to Max Center, remax.net. You click on update your profile on the left-hand side. All your information is going to be there. And you want to make sure that your bio, and this is one of those bios, again, it can be specific if you want it to be, or it can be generic, but you want one that's going to attract attention. Why should I use you, right? You want to be able to answer those questions. And we're talking about consumers and agents. Why should another agent select you as a referral partner? Why should they do that, right? So, and when we're looking at this, we want to make sure that your contact information is correct. Make sure that you have your social media linked to it. Make sure that your photo is up to date. Make sure your professional details are up to date, right? And down here where it has additional service areas, the office service areas we cannot change. Additional ones are for you and you only. What do you want to add to that? And you can add anything you want to. Please remember that an office area added down here to additional service areas doesn't do us any good. You're trying to get exposure, right? And to get that exposure, you want to add additional areas down here and areas where people might be wanting to do a search. So it could be very specific, but do not, you don't want to remember, you want to remember not to put twice, like McAllen down here twice doesn't help, or like one of the agents I mentioned the other day, one of the agents had McAllen 5 times. It's not going to help you. It's going to limit you to McAllen, period. Your personal details, that's where your bio and everything goes. Make sure you have that in there. And anything else you might do, any civic duties you have, any hobbies you have, anything somebody might be able to connect with, we want to make sure that we have that in there. And then, of course, there's also the ward side if you want to see what's going on there and how to get where we're at there. There was a couple of people yesterday who mentioned the Platinum Club, which is pretty good. We're talking about total commission range. So one of the other things when we're looking at this, let me go back to the Max Center real quick. Any questions on updating your profile? One of the reasons why you want the profile updated is because all of that carries over to your website and other things you have in KCORE. When we're in here, I'm going to show you a couple things from here real quick and then we'll wrap this up. So on here, on Max Center, you have your dashboard. That's this, right? You have all the apps and the tools. And these apps that are available, you can favorite them. That's if you click on the little blue banner, that makes it your favorite, so it makes it easier to find them. But just remember that you did, so that if you have favorites and you can't see something, that's probably why you can't see it. But you have that available. Every one of these that I have on here highlighted or marked, I use on a regular basis. On the left-hand side, when we talk about resources, you have those items that are there available, right? And this Remax Global is a referral network. You also have Find and Refer. And folks, this part is really important because if you have somebody that you're referring out to another agent, it'd be great to keep it within the Remax brand. So to do that, if I want to find and refer an agent, this is why your information needs to be up to date. If I wanted to do that and I was saying, let's say I was trying to find an agent in Bowling Green, Ohio. This is what pops up. So this is you having your information filled out. This is what pops up for you. And again, you can go through here and occasionally you'll see where the agents don't even have a photo up there, but it also gives their years of service. How long have they been associated with Remax, right? And if you click on one of them, just like if I clicked on one of yours, you have your summary, that's your bio, and anything else you might be feeding out there. Like there's the hobbies, right? Is there anything specific you're attached to? What civic activities do you have going on? And here's the service areas. Remember, that's hers. And here's the office service areas, right? And that's why I cover that with you. That's the same thing that people would be finding if they found you, right? And that's why you want to make sure your information is up to date. If I want to send a referral, I just click on that. It'll allow me to make sure this information is correct. I click on confirm and continue. It creates a referral form. I put the information in, it goes through them. Everything's being tracked through here, right? So it makes it a whole lot easier. I don't have to worry about did they get the form? Did it get signed? You have everything tracked right here. Down here on the bottom is the URL shortener. Some of you sort of talk about this one. I always talk about driving things back to your website, which is absolutely what you want to do. You always want to drive things back to your website. So go to your website, pull up a property, whether it's yours or somebody else. Make sure if it's not yours, you have permission. Pull up a property, bring that over here, throw it into the URL shortener where it says create a link, right? Let me just grab one right quick. So just I'll cut this out. If I pull up a property from that agent, right? Now, so I take this URL that's going to pop up here at the top right here. And usually all you have to do is click on it 3 times. It'll highlight the whole thing. You bring it back over to Max Center to the URL shortener, click on create the link. You plug your link in here. Click on create. And it's going to create a short URL, right? So this is the link I could use for other things. But here's my reason for doing that. It's not that link. It's this right here. I now have a QR code that I can use for all my mail outs and everything else. And what's cool about it is that QR code now is tracked, right? So, like for example, on Michelle Berry's one of the classes, we had done this one. Here's link analytics. It'll show you whether the property was clicked on, whether that QR code was used or not. That's all in here for you, right? So you have that available. That's one of the reasons why I highly encourage you using it for all your listings. It drives everything back to your website, and you can go in here and track it as well. Anybody have any questions there?